Welcome, horror fans. Monster Fred here. It's that time of year again, when things go bump in the night. And I'm here to do some bumping of my own, by serving up more of my midnight frights, just for you. So if you're looking for something different this season, no worries, I've got you covered. Now, in no real order, I present Volume 4 of my Top 10 Recommended Horror Films. Let's get started. First up, 1408. A man who specializes in debunking paranormal occurrences checks into the fabled room 1408 in the Dolphin Hotel. Soon after settling in, he confronts genuine terror. Oh, room 1408. You know, some people have an almost insatiable curiosity for the mysterious and the macabre. But what happens when mere superstition turns out to be a terrifying fact? In short, be careful what you look for. You just might find it. Tales from the Crypt. 5 strangers get lost in a crypt, and after meeting the mysterious crypt keeper, receive visions of how they will die. Caught this one back in the day at a drive-in, and this little anthology's got it all. Everything from a deranged Santa Claus to the dead returning to exact vengeance from the grave. The segment with Peter Cushing is without a doubt my favorite of the bunch. Check this one out. It shouldn't be too hard to find. Dark Water. A mother and her 6-year-old daughter move into a creepy apartment whose every surface is permeated by water. I've seen this one twice now, and it just keeps getting better. This is the first Japanese entry, so it's gonna come with subtitles. Plus, it's a slow burn, but I suggest you stick with it, as it's totally worth it in the end. You'll be both touched and terrified by this bittersweet tale. And do yourself a favor and don't bother with the 2005 remake, as it misses everything that makes the original so good. On a side note, there are some interesting parallels to this movie and the tragedy of Elisa Lam. I'll post links to her story below. Next up, Audition. A widower takes an offer to screen girls at a special audition arranged by a friend to find him a new wife, although the one he fancies is not who she appears to be. Audition is another Japanese entry that burns slowly on a long fuse, all leading to an explosive and horrific moment you won't forget. But if you're like the average moviegoer that has to have something jumping out on screen every 5 minutes, this isn't for you. This film reaffirms the old adage, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Black Sabbath. One of the original masters of horror, Boris Karloff, hosts a trio of horror stories. Here's another horror-filled flick to whet the appetite, especially for you anthology buffs out there. My favorite segment is the one with the nurse and the dead lady in the bed. Jeez, just thinking about that is enough to give me the Wiggins. Overall though, it does its job as a great horror picture. The Devil's Backbone. After 12-year-old Carlos arrives at a boys' orphanage, he discovers the school is haunted and holds many dark secrets. The Devil's Backbone is a ghost story I found to be more drama than horror. But I'd be remiss in my duties as a monster not to include it on this list. This came out in 2001, and it still holds up rather well. Not only by its special effects, but the strength of its story. This picture tells its ghostly tale with the grace of a painter's brush, rather than the clumsy sledgehammer most horror films use these days, proving once again that a good horror film doesn't have to depend on cheap tactics to be effective. Next up, The Thing. A research team in Antarctica is hunted by a shape-shifting alien that assumes the appearance of its victims. I remember I was a young monster, still in grade school when this came out. These days, I pull it off the old shelf at least once a year. The Thing is a remake of the 1951 flick, The Thing from Another World. And usually, I pass on remakes, but this outdoes the original in every way. I'd be hard-pressed to pick out a favorite scene, because it's all good. And as far as the ending goes, I guess I'll always wonder what happens after. Magic. A ventriloquist is at the mercy of his vicious dummy while he tries to renew a romance with his high school sweetheart. Magic treats us to the great Anthony Hopkins pulling double duty as the introverted ventriloquist Corky and the boisterous dummy Fats. His performance here is second only to that of his Hannibal Lecter. Magic's horror doesn't come from gore or jump scares. It comes from Sir Anthony's performance, his interaction with the dummy. And at times, you'll come to think of Fats as a real person. And God, that dummy. I don't know about the rest of you, but that dummy still creeps me out. Next up, Ghost Story. 2 generations of men find themselves haunted by the presence of a spectral woman. When the son of one of the elderly men returns to his hometown after his brother's mysterious death, they attempt to unravel her story. You know what they say about payback? Well, it's true. This one lives up to its title. It also stars the legendary Fred Astaire, stepping way outside of the familiar. There are no big dance numbers here, and the only song being sung is a dirge. And finally, Dead of Night. An architect senses impending doom as his half-remembered recurring dream turns into reality. The other guests at the country house encourage him to stay as they take turns telling supernatural tales. I'll top this list off with another anthology, and this one's really old school, all the way down to the brass-heavy scores they use in horror films those days. While most of the segments are designed to chill our spines, there's at least one that's intended to make us laugh.
She's ruining my game.
Mine too. Every time I take a stroke, I see her wretched face.
The good news for horror fans is that Dead of Night is easy to fall into, and on the whole, delivers a frightful experience, even by today's standards.
Just room for one inside, sir?
Well, that's all for now, kiddies. These selections should be just enough to get your fright on. But if you crave more, check out my other videos. The links are in the description. And how about doing old Monster Fred a solid by recommending favorites of your own. So, until next time, I'll be seeing you in the abyss.
What?